Clinical trials on the AstraZeneca vaccine show only 22% efficiency against the 501Y.V2 variant, which is dominant here in the country. However, research shows that it will prevent severe illness and death from COVID-19. The vaccine arrived in the country 2 weeks ago, but government decided to halt the rollout of the vaccine following the results of the trial. Should the AstraZeneca vaccine be written off completely? To discuss this further, I am now joined by Professor Mosa Moshabela, who is the Acting Deputy Vice-Chancellor at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Professor, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us tonight. So the AstraZeneca vaccine we purchased will be donated to the African Union to distribute to needy countries where the 501Y.V2 variant of COVID-19 is not present. Do you agree with the government's decision not to distribute the AstraZeneca vaccine here in South Africa?
Yeah, thank you, Anlie, and greetings to your viewers. I've grappled with this issue for some time, and I am also struggling with the decision that was made by government. I really hope that we can get a proper explanation as to why, because if the efficacy is the only reason, then maybe we need to rethink it. I'm assuming that government, with support from the scientists that who were consulted, that they decided to basically do effectiveness testing or implementation testing research on the AstraZeneca vaccine to see whether it will protect people from hospitalization and severe disease. And I am guessing that they decided to use only a small sample of the vaccines that they received from Serum Institute of India, and then take the rest before the expiry date to other countries that may need vaccines, and presumably in places where the variant is not prevalent. But I'm hoping that it can be proven that in those countries this new variant is not present, because if we take it to countries where they don't have adequate genomic surveillance and we don't know for sure that they also have the same variant, that could be detrimental to those countries. But I'm assuming these are the decisions government had taken. Personally, I would have preferred that government would have just rolled out the AstraZeneca vaccine in South Africa.
So there are a couple of things happening at the same time. More tests are being performed on the efficacy of the AstraZeneca vaccine on the 501Y.V2 variant. We do know, however, though, that amidst this whole process, we're also going to be getting vaccines from the COVAX program. Do we know yet whether the vaccines from COVAX will include the AstraZeneca vaccine? Because that's going to place significant pressure on us to speed up that research to make sure that those doses would be effective. Otherwise, we're going to be landing ourselves in the same spot.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we've also heard from the World Health Organization that they actually support the rollout of the AstraZeneca vaccine, even in places where the variant exists. And they also acknowledge that there's a need to do further studies to make sure that it can be proven that the AstraZeneca vaccine is protective against severe disease. So all of that, if you look at COVAX now, and obviously the amount of vaccines and the billions that have been invested or already signed off to acquire AstraZeneca vaccine for COVAX, it's a lot, and it's a big decision, which is why even from the beginning, we try to highlight the fact that whatever decision that South Africa makes, the whole world is looking. And it's not just COVAX, it's Australia. Australia had secured 50 million doses from the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and they are now not sure what to do given the results that came out from South Africa in case they have a variant. We haven't had much. We know that they're developing a booster for this vaccine, but there's no guarantees as to when this will come, because that could also determine how we use the AstraZeneca vaccine. I personally think that the results from the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine needed to be treated with caution rather than as final results, because then there were phase 2 results. It was a relatively small sample size. It did not look at all at severe disease, and also it looked only at antibody escapes. It didn't really take into account the fact that the immune system is so complex and includes other T-cell responses and so forth. I really think that we should not dismiss it, but I understand that there are politics and other issues that are involved in making that decision. But from a scientific point of view and from a public health point of view, we are going to pay for the consequences of having made this decision, because in the future it's going to be very difficult to encourage anyone to use the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine in South Africa after the way we've handled this situation.
Such an important point there. Thank you very much, Professor Mosa Moshabela. We're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, a very complex decision indeed.